and back again, no problem. Nice. So I think the camera point for this point is a little too... The camera point for these are a little too close, so I'm going to just move this one back and this one back. The same is true of this point as well, so I'm going to just move this one back as well. Okay, right. Now, we've got a bit more... Oh, I'm pressing the wrong button. That's why I was making those noises. Okay, right. So now, what we're going to do is implement a bit of platforming. So I'm actually going to make this box a little bit wider. So we're going to just bump that up to 1,000. Drag it over by a couple of squares. Line it up. There we go. So we've got a bit more space now. And we're going to take let's take a linear stair. See what we can do. Okay, there's not much we can do with that because it doesn't have the spiral stair settings. However, what we can do is take a box and just change the X double line in length. Change that to about 400. And we'll just again line this up. A lot of lining up in this stream. We actually only need about half of the height that has, so we'll change that to 100. Now we've got to make sure we've got the right rough dimensions, because we can't change these once we do what we're about to do. Okay, so I'm going to go into the geometry editing area, just rotate around here, and we're going to just see if we can take these two vertices and just drop them. Line them up with the lower set of vertices. So now we've got this nice slope. This nice linear slope. And I'm just going to grab another spherical influence point. And I'm going to actually place this a little off the edge. Because by doing that, it allows me to walk towards it until I fall off or hit a wall, and I won't ever get to a point when I'm stuck at the edge of the edge of the area. So I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to make a wall to stop you walking off the edge. Let's make this box. Let's make the width about, let's say 40. I'll make the Z about 1,000. And we'll match it to the Y of this, which is 500, so we'll do that. And now we'll just position this carefully. Just once again, there's a lot of this, but line it up to the edge. We're a nice tall wall. We'll probably make this a little bit shorter in the future because you do want to be able to go over there later. Now, I'm actually going to change this setup slightly because I don't like this because of how it's set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create capsule influence points, but I'm not going to turn them on their side this time. So I'm going to make them 1,000 high, not 1,000 high. That's the half height, so I'm going to make them about 400. Let's call it 400. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to stand them on their end. And the reason for this is that it allows us to use the same points in a vertical plane quite happily. So if I just double that radius, let's just check that that's not encroaching on any of these points. No, it doesn't seem to be, but I'm going to move it out a bit anyway. And I'm going to move it back as well, and I'm going to just have a couple of these dotted around. Let's call it 3. So 3. So these are now stacked up next to each other, and I'm going to just move the camera points as well. So I'm going to just bring that out and down, out and down, out and down. Let's give that a try. Let me just move over here. Jump up and head around this spiral staircase, and we'll see if that lets us move on a 2D plane. A lot of this hasn't actually been tested yet, but we'll see. So we've got our movement nicely two-dimensional here, nicely backwards and forwards across this area, and we walk up to the wall and stop because there's a point outside the wall that we can't reach. That's nice, that's what we expect. Great. So now we're going to start building the next section of the platforming, which is this bit. So we've got these broken things here, and there's a point on top of this. So we're going to just build on top of that a bit. So because we've got this as a single block, we're going to just expand the height again. So I'm going to make that 400. In fact, I'm going to make the height this. I'm going to make the height this whole thing here. So I'm going to jump that up to 1,000. Maybe not quite 1,000, but I'll make it 800. Let's call it 800. It's quite nice. And I'll just match it up again. And so we've got a nice big spot here. Now I'm just going to duplicate this. Bring this up a bit. About here, I reckon. And actually just move it over to the other side. And I'm also going to line it up with this side. What I'm also going to do is copy this influence point, and instead of having it cover the whole thing, I'm just going to move up a bit, and I'm going to drop it so that it's I'm going to change its half height so it's 300. Should we try? The key is it mustn't be intersecting that point on below it. It is currently, but I can move it a bit higher. So that should work nicely, and I'll just move the camera down a bit. Let's put the camera there. So what should happen now, let's move that point, is you won't be able to jump up to there. So that's a bit pointless me testing it, to be honest. I'll just make a quick platform so that you can get up onto there. So let's create a box. Start with the box. As always, we'll just make the Z 60 as we did on the stairs. And that looks about right. So we'll just clip that in here. Drop that in nicely. Just line that all up. So with it all lined up like this, we can get some very nice. We don't have problems with collisions, and we can get some very nice movement. Very smooth. So we'll just line that up, and then we'll get to the geometry editor. Drag that down a bit and pull it out a bit, I think. Pull it out a bit and probably drag it down a bit further actually, because we can't jump very far. I will probably adjust the jump height a bit, because at the moment that's not going to be possible to jump up. So I'm going to just head back to character who's down here. And we'll have a look at these down here. Now, where's our... One of these parameters will set our jump height. We just need to, even if only temporarily, just increase that quite high. So in the future we're going to have ledge grabbing and all sorts of stuff, but that's not implemented yet. So to test this, we're going to just have to increase the jump height a little bit. So it should be here somewhere. Here we are. Jump Z velocity. So instantaneous vertical acceleration at 420. So if we just times that by 10, we'll give that a go. So now when I jump, I go extremely high. That's probably a little too high. So let's not quite times it by 10. We'll double it. Let's try doubling it. 840. That's still quite high, but manageable, I think. So we'll deal with that. See, there's still some issues with the camera, so it doesn't follow you when you jump, but we can sort that out. We just haven't. We've just only just finished the setting up the movement controls nicely. So if I now use that new jump, now that is interesting because that means it's connected to one of the Facebook. So this means it's connected to one of these things here. Either that, or we're actually looking towards the wrong influence point, which I think may well be the case. Okay, so there's a bit of a bug there. But never mind, we'll sort it out. Okay, so let's try that again. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, never mind. Now, well, this point is considered as a junction now, and that's right. That should be the case. But I think we're looking at the wrong... We're going towards the wrong influence point. Okay, so if I hit up, what does that do? Okay, that takes me there. Okay, so never mind. It doesn't seem to quite be working as intended, but never mind. We'll sort it out at a later date. We'll sort that out later. Doesn't matter too much. I'm just going to increase the radius of this to 250 in preparation for when we've fixed it, and just move it outside a little bit. So it gives us a little bit of free movement. I'll just drop it again because it's not encroaching on anyone's space. Okay, so we've managed to get some semblance of a thing. Something working anyway. So what's our next step? Our next step is... Ooh, wrong one. Our next step is this one. So we've got this section here, and this leads us up, out to the front again, which is good. That's fine. We want that. So we'll just do that again. And what we'll do is we'll drop this to 800 as the previous one. And just line it up to the top there. So it's nice and in line with the top of that one. Quite nice. Okay, what we're also going to do is duplicate this with Alt. And we're going to just set the X this time to be 1,000. No, was it 1,000? 800. Actually, it's going to be somewhere in the region of 600 actually, because I'm not doing subtraction properly. So what we're going to do now is we're going to set the Y to about 40. Oh dear. Okay. Okay, so it seems to have glitched slightly, so we'll just make a new one. It's fine. So we'll call that 600. This one 40. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, we'll just make that height 800. So we're going to put this over the back. Yeah. And then just line this up neatly at the back. Okay, so that's there. It's not quite wide enough, so we'll bump it up to 800. I think that'll be right. And we'll just gently move it over here. So now we've got a nice wall at the back. It's not quite lined up, so I'm just going to... one more over. There we go. Now we've got a nice wall at the back. So we're in a little contained area here. And now we're going to make another one of these. So actually what we're going to do is just duplicate this one and rotate it. So just duplicate that. And just grab the rotation tool. And rotate it by 180 degrees. Okay, now I'm going to just move this up here. Bring it across here. Now I think I need to make these ones slightly taller. So I'm going to increase their half height to 500. That should do it. And now I am taking another subtractive. I'm going to copy this doorway if I can. Yes, there we go. And I'm going to just swap the Y and the X around, so that's I'm going to make that 40. Let's call that 150. So now we've got a nice doorway we can use. Can just forwards one. That's not. There we go, we've got a nice doorway now. Now what I'm actually going to do is change this slightly. Get the geometry editor again. And just take this face, take these 4 vertices, it's the same thing really, and just move these to here, then drop that down to the bottom of the doorway. Apply. Okay, now we're going to select this face and select extrude. Okay, and we're going to just extrude this over to here. So now we've got a nice platform where the door should be. Now, door's a little too low, so I'm going to just jump that up, and that all matches up quite nicely. So now we've got a nice doorway. I'm actually going to add the next bit, which requires me to look at the next bit of the design, which goes out and up. Okay. So we're actually going to move up a little bit now. We're just move in a straight line a little bit and then go for another upwards bit. We're not going to show you the development of the entire area because that's going to take hours upon hours, but we'll give you a little sample of this first area. So we'll just make the Z 60 as it was on the stairs. Width we'll make 150 and we'll call this one 500. So we'll just match that up to the doorway. And then let's match it up there. I'm going to make a capsule influence point, half height of about 300. Rotates on the x-axis by 90 degrees. And then just slot that in. Now this one's a bit interesting. Let me just increase the radius to about 200. And I also increase the half height to 400. Because this one... Actually, I've changed my mind. We're going to... We've got to try and make sure that you go through the doorway. So I'm going to add a sphere capsule here on the doorway, which can be accessed from either of these 2 points. Now whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. We're about to find out. Because it may be that this causes some problems. But we'll see. So I'm going to move the editor camera over here so you get a camera on the right hand side. And we'll just leave that as it is for now. And let's see what that does. So this room over there. This little jump out the spiral staircase, which we built earlier, into this room, and up here. So now we jump up. Ooh, now we've got to jump up. Oh dear. This is proving more difficult than it looks. There we go. So now we jump up there. And okay, now we're going kind of through the door, but there's nowhere to go beyond the door, so we got a little bit stuck. Okay, so let's try that again. Yep, we're going into the door. Okay, that's good. The problems that might occur would be that you can still go into the door from down here, which we don't really want, but we can sort that out later. So I'm going to add another capsule point here. Half height of about 300. Rotate along the x-axis by 90 degrees. I'll just make sure that's only accessible from the point in the doorway. And move the editor camera off to the right. So now, I'm just going to lift it up a little bit. So now we should be able to move along that. Just going to double check that. So we've already got this path change set up here. And we'll have another of these rooms over in this path later. Though we probably won't get time to set that up today. So we'll just focus on this one for now. So we go up these stairs. Around the corner. Up the platforms, if I can actually. It's a little bit rough at the moment, so there's a lot of things to iron out, but hopefully in the final game the controls will be nice and smooth and very, very intuitive. So yeah, now I'm out on here, and I can come back in, kind of. Doesn't quite work. Okay. So, I think what we need to do is to make these two influence points quite a bit shorter. So, we've got 300. And we'll call this one 300 as well. So these two influence points now shouldn't touch this one. I need to make this one smaller to account for that, so I'll make that 100. It doesn't matter that it doesn't fill the doorway, but as long as it touches the influence points we need. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is create some extra influence points up here. So these are going to have a smaller radius, so I'm going to make this a radius of 100. Maybe not quite 100, maybe 150. So we should, so that one moves slightly over so it's not intersecting that point. Just going to lift it up a bit further so it's right at the top. Now I'm going to do the same with this. Put this one outside. I'm going to just bump up the radius to 200 on this one. Oh, I lost the other one. Let me just undo that. Sorry, mustn't have been holding Alt. Just bump the radius up to 300. Call it 200. And just move that slightly outside. Yeah. Maybe 250. Actually, I'll replace that with the sphere one. Actually, I won't. I've changed my mind again, because I think it'll be better served if we drag one the same as this one over here, and have another one the same as this one, which is over here, which just allows us to walk into the wall. So I'm going to just progress forwards on here. Make that jump. Let's go up the stairs. And we're into our room now. I've managed to get stuck in the corner. There we go. Or not. Okay, so this is being a little bit... There's a few problems with the engine in this sort of setup, but that seems to work, more or less. Yeah, there we go. So this sort of setup seems to work. I'm still experimenting with this engine as well. There are still a few problems with it, but it seems to be working relatively nicely at the moment. Okay, there we go. Oh, I've managed to jump on top. Don't really want to be able to do that, so I'll see what I can do about that. But yes, we're now able to walk out into the corridor. And that's quite nice. Okay, so probably do another half an hour or so, and then we'll call it a day. I'm actually going to get rid of this point because there's no point in being able to walk into the wall at this bit. So I'm going to get rid of that one, and we'll see if that improves matters. A little bit of testing. Yeah, this seems to be working a little nicer now. Let me hit here. We're still walking into the wall, but that doesn't matter. Oop. I'm in the wrong influence point again. It sometimes seems to pick the wrong ones, but there's a bug we know about and we are trying to sort it. Oop. Okay, so I'm going to just add a roof onto here. It'll stop us from climbing up too high, but it'll also allow us to, if we make the roof tall enough, stop us from getting on top. So I'm going to just copy the dimensions of this, which are 1560. Except I'm not going to copy the last one, so I'm going to copy 1500. I'm going to keep it as 200 for now. Let's position that. So I'm going to add 40 to each of those because we've got these walls, so I want to cover those as well. So I'm going to just add 40 to each of the X and Y. Oops, I've accidentally cloned this twice because I'm losing concentration. Okay, so let's just perch that on there. Like that. In fact, let's extend this wall slightly by about 40. So we'll just to get it even on the side of the door. So we'll just oh, wrong one. Or was it? No, it wasn't. Never mind. So we'll just extend that by about 40. Place it there. Now I do lining up of this. Just there, like that. Then if we just increase the height of that to about 400, that should give us plenty of ceiling. Stop us from climbing on top of the building. Okay, that seems to work. Let me just drop these camera points a little bit high. Okay. So here we are. Got that nice building over there, nice little room. Can walk up to it. So the idea behind the controls is that you can move around all through a level just by holding the control stick in one direction. Doesn't quite work like that yet, but we are working very hard on it. Couple of issues with it, like this one, but you can also hit junction points where you can change the path by changing the direction you're pressing on the control stick, which will change which direction you're moving. So these ones with boxes around them are classed as junction points. They're points you can use to change direction. So if I'm standing here, for example... Oh, hang on, that didn't work very well. Just try and recover from this. It's gone a bit weird. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here we go. So I'm standing here. If I press up now, I can walk through here. But if I press left, I'll walk that way. If I press right, I'll walk into the wall. So the idea is quite simply that you'll be able to change direction on the fly, but you won't need to pay much attention to the exact directions you're walking in. And again, there's a couple of issues with it, such as that one. We are working on them very hard, and we're getting them sorted slowly but surely. Anyway, so at this point, we've just done this doorway leading out here. Now, we haven't included this little water wheel or this water flow here. This pressure valve. These are things we'll be adding, but the functionality isn't quite there yet, so we're not going to bother with them just today. We're not going to bother with them today. Let me just move this down a bit, because that's a bit ridiculous. Okay, but what we're going to look at next, and it's probably the last bit we're going to build, is just a little slope going up here, a little ridge, and up to another floor. A jump up to another floor. Now, the way the game is built at the moment, you won't be able to reach the other floor yet. Or will you? Yes, you will. Sorry, I'm thinking mental. I'm thinking about a later part in the area where you won't be able to reach things yet, because we are hoping to implement some of the gadgets into this area, and one of them will help you to reach high spaces. So, I won't give you any more details than that. But we are hoping to include that into the demo. Our next demo that we produce. But this area won't use it, because you will be finding it partway through the demo. So, we actually want the X to be 150 here. And we actually want the Z, we actually do want about 200 here, because we're going to have a little jump. A little ridge there. Okay, so these are all going to be replaced with sort of broken pipes and walkways and things later, but for now we'll just keep it as standard little boxes. Okay, and actually what we want to do now is open this. So this... we're going to just bring this off this way, I think. Our designs are all in 2D, but they don't actually work properly unless they're in. They won't necessarily work unless they're in 3D, spatially. So we've got to adapt the designs to fit the 3D space. So we're just doing that here, and then I'm going to just have you make another jump to head off this way. So let's get another BSP box, and we'll just line this one up. Yeah. And here. It's not quite lined. It's not quite lined up. Let's drop that in. And we'll just bring it up here. We're not bothering too much about aesthetics at the moment. It's not a major issue for now. We'll just edit the Y. This is going to be quite a long section, so we'll just make this 1,000. Not quite long enough. Make it 1,500. So there's going to be a whole puzzle section that goes on top of this. We'll just spend the last 20 minutes or so starting up this area. Let's bring that up there. Now let's set up some influence points. So I'm going to make a sphere influence point. It's going to be here. I'm going to keep the camera sort of out here. So you're going to be walking towards the camera for a bit. I'm going to just move it back a bit. Okay. And then we're going to get a nice little... I'm going to use a box for this one. So we'll make the y-axis sort of... This was 1,500, so let's do that. Let's match it. Was it 5,500? No, it wasn't 1,500. What was it? It was 1,500. Maybe we'll pick half that. So we'll pick half, half of which is 750. Yeah, that looks more like it. So we'll just match that up to the edges. I think is crossing this sphere point, but what we'll do is we'll just move this sphere point over, and we'll move this one up here, and then we'll move the camera point of this one out, down. Let's give that a test. Okay, so let's go round and round. Up here, out here. Oh, that's gone interesting. Okay, so we can walk up there, and we can drop down quite nicely. What's interesting is that these points seem to have got it backwards. We don't actually want this one to be intersecting that. So I'll just decrease the radius slightly, call it 150. And then if we just slide this one back and over a bit, might make things a little neater. So give that a go. So mainly our aim in this is we're doing some new. We're still midway testing to the new movement controls. There's a lot of stuff we're doing with that. But we'd like to show you what we're doing. We're trying to show what we've done, what progress we're making. It's very bare bones at the moment, what you can see, but things will get polished quite quickly. That's better. That's more like it. So we go up and round. So I can jump up here, land on there, and jump up there, and now we're on top of here. So there's about 20 minutes left of the stream, I think. And so we'll just build this last section. So the character's movement logic is a little bit wobbly at the moment. It's our main focus of main priority is working out all the bugs and trying to get it to a state where it's stable. It's not quite stable at the moment, but it's getting there. It's a lot better than it was 3 days ago. So we're still working on that. We're also doing a lot of design. We're hiring some work for music and 3D art. But a lot of it we're doing in-house. All this calculation and all these algorithms are in-house. All of this is in-house. We're just working as best we can with what we can do, and we're getting others to help with what we can't or don't have time for. But we have a design for this whole area. And we've got concept art being drawn up. We're currently in the works recruiting a musician. So we're working towards it. We're running on a very tight budget at the moment. We have none, but we're managing. We will need to run another fundraiser, which we're planning to do very soon. We're hoping to build this demo area first and get this all working so we can show it off a bit. Show off this demo area, and then with it all finished and all the graphics in place, music, sound, all of that stuff. And then we'll run another fundraiser, and hopefully we'll gain some of the funding we need to actually produce the rest of the game. So there's a little more I can do on this. Got a little bit of design here. Just gonna build up this section. So about this stage we're gonna just have a couple of jumps. So I'm gonna just put those in. So we're gonna have to have another. So I'm gonna drop this dimensions of this one slightly. So I'm gonna not make it 750. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna just drag it until I'm happy with it. So I'm gonna just drag that back. So with that 465, that's probably fine. Because what we're gonna do is I'm gonna just put this in about here. And I'm going to just make the Z about 600. So we're going to go up again. So I'm going to just bring that up here. How high is this? This is 200. 100. Okay, so I need a little bit higher than that. So I'm going to just bring it up a little bit, because we've already established 100 isn't quite enough for Sam. He needs about 250, I think. He needs 230, okay. So he needs a little bit of height, so he needs about that. Okay, so we got that. Now we're going to make another one of these. And bring it over here. And we're actually going to tone this one down quite substantially to about 400. And we're going to line them up at the top. So we're going to go for a side-on view. Will that help? Yeah. So I'm going to just zoom in here. Zoom's not working properly. It's awkward. Well, get my mouse out. I'm using a Wacom graphics tablet and Unreal's not playing nice with it today. So just line these up. Okay, now we can go back to the perspective view. And these are nicely lined up. Okay, so I'm going to now add a couple of juts out of this. So I'm going to actually bring this one over a little bit so we can get a bit of space. I'm going to have a couple of juts out. So there's will be more boxes. I'm going to actually make these Zs at 60. Of course we don't need these to be very thick. Okay, so let's drop this down one more. Line it all up, just pull it out a little bit. Don't have to pull it out the whole way, probably won't. Bring it out about halfway. Yeah. I'm going to do this, copy one of these, and do the same over here. So we've got a couple of steps. Now, we won't be able to jump up just yet. I'm going to actually copy this one and just bring another one up here. So we can go back and forth a bit. Let's drop that slightly. There we go. Of course, we won't be able to use these yet because we've got no influence points, so let's add some capsules. Let's make the half height. Let's make that 500, make them quite tall. Make the radius about 300 each. So these are quite big capsules. So I'm going to just move this very slightly this way, because the plan is to have these influence points slightly offset from the centre, because just out of the centre of this thing, because this means we can now use this section as a vertical 2D platforming. So if I just drag these camera points down a bit. So I've lost my influence point. Find my most recent capsule, which is 15, yes. Let's drag the camera point out. Okay, so if we give this a quick test, you can see it all up there, floating in the sky. We should be able to climb up there, no problem. Okay, there, we're up here, out here, towards here. Now we should be able to just climb up here in a nice 2D fashion. And that's all fine. The reason the camera is doing some slightly strange things is to do with things like that little skip. It's to do with how the camera's set up in the world. We are going to change that very soon. It's just it's set up it's a standard setup in Unreal, designed to stop the camera going through walls. But it doesn't quite work for our purposes, so I'm going to just turn off the editor light and give this all a look with the lantern and in the dark. So, see, the environment looks a lot nicer in the dark, actually, even with all the without all the detail. There's very little you can actually see. It's all silhouette. So we have to be very careful in that. We have to be very careful in the design of this game, so that things like sections like this, you could actually see all of the platforms while in the dark, as well as when you have the light on. I've got stuck in the wall again. It's an irritating glitch, but we will sort it out quite soon. There we go. Oh, I've got stuck again. Ah, recovered. Okay, so... we've got this nice jumping up here. As you can see, yeah, we're as I've said a few times in this stream already, we're in quite a early stage of this new engine. We've done a huge overhaul on how we're doing everything. So there's been a lot of changes recently, and we've still got to iron out a lot of the bugs. We are doing that as I speak, but we're making progress, and we'll get there before we release this out. So there are a couple of issues with Sam at the moment, which I briefly addressed in the modelling section, in the character setup section. We're hoping to get those fixed fairly soon, and to rebuild some of the animation so it looks a little bit cleaner. As you probably noticed throughout all this, Sam's scarf has been completely stationary the whole time, and we will sort that out with the new animations. And his hair does a few strange flips, and we'll sort that out as well. So there's not much more interesting I can do on this. Mainly it's more of the same at this point. There's just going around doing some jumps. I think we're more or less done in this case. I'll show off the sky a little bit. So we're building a sky system. We've built a sky system. As I showed you before, we've got this sort of target colour and starting colour So this starting colour is very similar to the one we showed previously. It's a whole new sky system we've built. Whole new sky system, and yes, so we've got quite a lot of interesting stuff we can do. We've set it up so we can change the colour at any point. So if I haven't set this to preview the target colour. If I set this to preview target colour, you can see we've got a nice bright pink, which is rather garish, but if I turn that down a bit, then it becomes a little bit more pleasant. Not quite that though. A nice orange. Let's drain some of the saturation out so we can change the colour to this sort of very dark orange. And that's fairly nice. So I'll just cancel that and set it back to where it was. I'll turn off the preview. So we've also got this moon system, so we can if I have a look at this this thing down here. We've got a whole orbit simulation which draws the moon, makes the moon orbit. I'll see if I can find it as we're going. The moon's a key theme in this one. So here we've got our orbit visualizer. This is our Earth. Here's our moon. If we look through Earth, we'll find ourselves looking at the position of the moon in the sky here. And this yellow line shows us how we're going to orbit. The moon moves around the Earth as you play. It's all completely dynamic. We can change the size of the moon. The moon changes size as it gets closer to the Earth. We can change it ourselves. And we can also change the phase of the moon by do that. So if you just wait for the clouds to move out of the way, and I'll move this slider. So we've got a full moon there. Now we've got most of it gone. And just change the phase of the moon as we like. 0.55. So it's a sort of a half moon. In any case, I think we're more or less done for today. Thank you all for listening and watching. If you've watched to the end, very well done. Hopefully we may stream more in the future. At the moment we do want to focus a bit on what we're developing, but you never know. I hope this has given you a bit of an insight as to how the development process is going. And I hope that you'll continue to support the game. We'll hope to come back to you. We'll keep our websites and Twitter updated so you can keep at least some idea of what we're doing. But we're all working incredibly hard to get this all sorted and to get this all ready to release. I say release, to release a fundraiser, because we need to raise our funds first. There's a lot that still needs doing, but we're pretty confident we can do it. As long as we get... And we're pretty confident that we'll be able to raise the funds we need. But we've shown you a little bit of how we've been working and what we're doing, and hopefully that's given you a bit of an insight as to how the work's going. I hope we'll be able to stream for you fairly soon. But for now, thank you for watching.